Hey all, Ron here from Military Images Magazine with a new episode of Life on the Civil War Research Trail. Today I want to take you back to a September day in 1865 in Baltimore, Maryland. You can see the scene here in downtown Baltimore. There must be hundreds, thousands of individuals who are gathered in this park area, an intersection of several streets. You can see a large building in the background. Looks like a 4 or 5 story building. Next to it is a monument, a tall monument. In fact, it's a Doric column, 52 feet high, with a statue representing charity on top. All these people are gathered around after just months after the Civil War, a war weary public after 4 years of strife. They were ready for some goodness to happen, and they got it on this day because we're looking at the dedication of the Wildey Monument in Baltimore. And this particular memorial honors Thomas Wildey, who is the man who established the first North American chapter of the International Order of Oddfellows. Now, some will tell you that the organization, there was chapters in New York in the early 1800s and the 18 teens, but in fact, Wildey is credited with the first formal chapter being founded in Baltimore in the Fells Point neighborhood in 1819. It was quite a fraternal order and still is today. Their watchwords, in addition to charity, are friendship, love, and truth. Now, these time honored words that they lived by were definitely challenged in 1861 when the war began in April of 1861. Baltimore is right in the middle of some of the early action with the pro secession riots known as the Baltimore riots or the Pratt Street riot that occurred just a week after the bombardment of Fort Sumter. Wildey, who was more than 80 years old at the time, was in fact in his last months of life. He died in October of 1861, knowing that the Civil War had begun, but never knowing how it would end. And so when the war weary public, 4 years later, and more than a half century, about a half century after the organization was founded, put together this memorial, they understood the time that they were in. It was a time of healing. It was a time for the ideals of the Oddfellows to play a critical role in bringing the nation back together. I want to show you this other view of the monument so you can get a better picture of what it looked like. Now, the October issue of a magazine called The American Oddfellow understood the times that everyone lived in this auspicious moment and reported on it. I want to read you a passage because I think it captures the spirit of the city, the spirit of the Oddfellows, and the spirit of the country in these months following the end of the war. So here we go. Quote, September 20th, 1865 will be remembered as an epoch in the history of Baltimore, worthy of commemoration in the future. After 4 long, dreary years of intestine strife, passion, and bloodshed, that city, as the proper geographical point, was selected and made the meeting place of our once divided but now forever united brothers. The men, but lately arrayed one against the other, have met under the old banner of the Republic and marched arm in arm together to witness and assist in the rearing of a tablet of marble to charity, to that disposition of the human heart which inclines men to do good one to the other. No more suitable place than Baltimore could have been selected for this national reunion. As the first blood was shed in her streets in behalf of the now suppressed rebellion, it was but fitting that in these same streets, the people, so long kept asunder, should be reunited. And we firmly believe, to use the language of President Johnson, that's President Andrew Johnson, that the reunion on that day cannot fail to exert a powerful influence upon the people of the country in the reestablishment of goodwill and harmony. The weather was all that could be desired for the occasion, and from early dawn the streets of Baltimore were enlivened with the music of several bands and thronged with members of the order from abroad. Citizens not connected with the fraternity crowded the line of march of the procession, and all seemed anxious to testify their appreciation of the glad occasion. Notwithstanding the dense mass in the streets, there was not an accident throughout the day, and nothing occurred that could mar its enjoyments. There's much more to this report, and I've included a link in the comments below this video so you can read if you're interested to get a greater sense of what happened that day. But I can tell you this, the International Order of Odd Fellows, founded by Thomas Wildey, erecting the monument, dedicating the monument on that day, that auspicious day in September of 1865, were certainly representing a spirit of unity and a spirit of reunification after the war was over. And members of the organization certainly did their part to carry on in the traditions that dated first to England in the original Odd Fellows and then on to America. So thanks for listening, and we'll see you on the next episode of Life on the Civil War Research Trail.